Good evening, I'm Dean Phillips. It's 8 o'clock, and do you know where some of your voters are? Well, they're making a last-minute rush to the polls to vote in primary 1983. Kevin Jordan is standing by with the live eye in Wilkes-Barre. We'll look at all the important races around here. You'll need a scorecard, Kevin.
To say the least, Dean, there are more than 100 candidates on the ballot in Wilkes-Barre. That's causing some delays in voting. Here at Myers High School in South Wilkes-Barre, though, the line is very short. Those who will be in line at 8 o'clock when the polls are supposed to close will be allowed to vote. As long as you're in line inside the polling place, you'll be allowed to vote. In some sections, that's going to mean delays of up to a half an hour or so, but for the most part, we'll be ready for you at 11 o'clock tonight.
You've seen this many candidates in the past, Kevin.
A man who's been doing elections in Wilkes-Barre for 60 years says he's never seen this many candidates before, Dean.
Thank you, Kevin. Of course, we'll be covering all the races in Luzerne County, Lackawanna County, and central Pennsylvania throughout the night. Keep your eye on Eyewitness News.
Anyway, Jim Phillips about that. Jim, the Republicans apparently have some problems. They could not nominate Post Wysocki. Wysocki never got out of the starting blocks. Post loses tonight. It looks like Sam Daley, a former Democrat who entered 4 different races for the Republicans, is going to be the GOP nominee for Recorder of Deeds. Is Triniszewski-Phillips going to head up a Republican ticket in Luzerne County, or are you going to continue to go it alone?
Well, we will certainly be the head of the ticket, and we will be sitting down with the other people and so forth in the very near future. And I think everybody's going to close ranks, and we'll win in November.
Very quickly, issues for November. What do you see as the major issue?
Kevin, first of all, the 42% pay increase, it has to be one of the major issues in this county. The second, the 12.3 millage increase that this administration passed on to the taxpayers of Luzerne County. The lawsuits that they have lost, the lawsuits that are still pending, the vote fraud, and on and on. I think we have to set a new direction for Luzerne County, a new image, and I think we can do that.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Commissioner Frank Triniszewski, the incumbent Republican, and his running mate Jim Phillips. They're victorious tonight in defeating the GOP Luzerne County endorsed candidate, James Post, the former Luzerne County Commissioner who went down to defeat tonight rather handily in the Republican primary. The winners of the Democratic primary, incumbents Commissioners Edward Brzeminski and Frank Crossan, and they're joining us live here now at the Luzerne County Courthouse. Commissioner Brzeminski, congratulations on your victory tonight.
Thank you, Kevin, very much.
What about this victory tonight? There was expected to be a challenge from Dominic Caprari. A lot of former supporters of Ed Wyven were supposed to get behind Dominic Caprari, and there were those who thought that this might have been a little more of a dogfight than it really turned out to be. As it turns out, you and Frank Crossan walk away with this one.
Well, I think Frank Crossan and Ed Brzeminski present a team, and we also present a record that's we've stood up in front of the public, and I think they recognize the voting population today is very intelligent, and they see the job that you've done, and they rate you on that. And I think that they're satisfied with the job we've done, and hopefully we can improve if there are areas to improve in the future.
Let me ask Frank Crossan here very quickly. I'll let you take a shot at the boss here. You finished #1 on the Democratic Commissioner's race. Of course, in your current term, you're succeeding your late father. What about that? You've got to take a special delight in that, especially when you finish ahead of this man.
Well, Kevin, it's a team effort, as I said before. I think the ballot position had a lot to do with the way the vote came. As you know, it was a very difficult ballot with a lot of the judges on the ballot. Very many of the voters were confused, and it was very difficult. But again, as Ed mentioned, it's a team effort, and that's what we're concerned with. We've run on our record. We're going to continue to do what we feel best in the interest for the taxpayers of Luzerne County, and we look forward to another 4 years if we can get the good work that we got from all our supporters this election.
Real quickly, because we're running out of time, pay increase that was voted on by these commissioners, you, Commissioner Brzeminski, Commissioner Crossan, big issue in the November election?
I think it will be an issue, Kevin, but personally I can tell you that every third-class county in the state of Pennsylvania has voted for a pay raise. It's very easy when you're in the minority, as our opponent has been for the past 3.5 years. He came, very little input did he give to any of the decisions we made. He just took a negative stance, and the people of Luzerne County know that. He's not going to continue to fool them very much longer.
Okay, Commissioner Brzeminski, Commissioner Crossan, congratulations. Big victory tonight. Best of luck to you in November.
Thank you, Kevin, very kindly.
Very much.
Okay, Commissioners Edward Brzeminski and Frank Crossan victorious tonight. As a matter of fact, they walk in what some thought might have been a very close race for the Democratic nomination. So the battle shapes up now. It's Crossan, Brzeminski, Triniszewski, Phillips. We'll see you back here in November. Dean?
I guess that was fitting. To your right, the Republican candidates. To your left, the Democratic candidates. Let's take a look now at some of the vote totals. Okay, here it is. Kevin Jordan ran this down before, but these are the specifics for you. Again, Frank Trynaszewski and Jim Phillips going to represent the Republican Party this fall. Meanwhile, on the Democratic side, take a look at that. It is Crossan way out in front. Stadoulis, Alderdice out of the question tonight. Sutkavich out of the question tonight. Bromensky is going to represent the Democratic Party. And Caprari, some people thought he was going to mount quite a challenge. That did not happen tonight. As we told you earlier tonight, Eugene Hudak has won the Democratic nomination for Clerk of the Courts, and he's here for some thoughts. First of all, you are one of the biggest winners on the Democratic side tonight. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Dean.
But you know, the Democratic Party got very upset when you opposed Ray Musto for the state Senate, sir. In fact, the fact that you are not at the Democratic Party celebration at the Luzerne County Courthouse tonight, does that say something? Did you indeed beat and alienate the machine?
I don't think that might be the situation, Dean. The fact remains that I had an independent organization, and we had decided to meet at the Treadway, or the Woodlands, and my whole group was there, and I felt I owed an allegiance to the people who supported me, the people who were with me, and I stayed with them rather than going to the courthouse.
Well, it sounds like the voters in Luzerne County don't care about power politics no matter what those power politics are.
I would say this very much. I think my record was the thing that carried me through, and I'm proud of the record, and I think it was great.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
In the Poconos tonight, the question is not only candidates, but also gambling. In a non-binding referendum, the people of Monroe County are expressing their opinion on casino gambling, and that opinion, no way, at least 5-1, no way. The story from Bill Longworth.
To no one's surprise, the gambling issue was the main reason for heavy voter turnout in Monroe County. Some people waited in line more than 30 minutes to vote, and one judge of elections told Eyewitness News it's the biggest voter turnout she has seen in 25 years. Even before the polls closed, it became clear the possibility of legalized gambling in the Poconos didn't set well with voters.
Absolutely against it.
Why?
I think it's going to create a lot of crime and problems in town, and in fact, if they pass it, I'm going to move out of town. I don't think it's going to create jobs for the local people, and I think it's only going to make the owners of the casinos rich.
When the Board of Elections began tallying, legalized gambling died a slow death, defeated by a 5-1 margin in most areas. Gambling opponents like Reverend Thomas Richards of the Monroe County Clergy Association say the gambling issue probably isn't over.
I think that this gives us a good indication of what the sense of the people of Monroe County are. We're going to take that message to Harrisburg, and we're going to make sure that the people in Harrisburg hear our thoughts and know what our feelings are.
Even with a win for the people of Monroe County, it's still a non-binding vote, which means there's nothing from preventing lawmakers in Harrisburg from introducing legislation to bring gambling to the Poconos. But for now, the Pocono people have won. Bill Longworth, Eyewitness News, Stroudsburg.
You know, of course, our live eyes are all over the place tonight to bring you the most complete election coverage. We go live to the north, and Bridget Cusick for the latest in Lackawanna County. Bridget.
Thank you, Dean. The figures here in the race that's being concentrated on the most, of course, are for county commissioners. Those figures and the winners supposedly have been jumping around all night. We started out the evening with the team of Rossi and Comerford ahead of most of the others, and as time has gone on, Democrats Joseph Corcoran and his running mate Ray Alberigi have taken the lead. These figures just handed to me with 237 of 241 districts reporting in. Corcoran is the front runner with 14,435 votes. Next, his running mate Ray Alberigi with 14,434. Richard Rossi, former city councilman, is in third place with 13,150 votes. That's about 1,200 behind the Corcoran Alberigi team. And of course, in fourth place, one of the front runners earlier this evening, Thomas Comerford, former aide to State Senator Robert Mello, with 14,434 votes. That's 827 behind his running mate, Richard Rossi. So right now, we still have a few more districts to be called in, but it is 237 districts out of 241, and it looks like the Corcoran and Alberigi team are the front runners, and Richard Rossi, number 3, and his running mate Thomas Comerford, number 4. Of course, incumbent Chester Lasota was with a strong lead when the earlier precincts reported, and Lasota is now in 5th place with 10,023 votes. Sixth place, Joseph Wanzak, 7,191. None of the candidates have shown up yet here at the Scranton Tribune. We're hoping they will shortly. If they do, we will have an interview with one or two of them. As the night progresses, we should have final figures, and we will be back shortly with more. Dean.
Thank you, Bridget. And when we come back, Wilkes-Barre City, Scranton City, Philadelphia Mayor, an important race there, Lycoming County. It's all for you. Tom McLaughlin will stay your mayor in the city of Wilkes-Barre, as we predicted much earlier tonight, but he wasn't the only candidate facing your vote today in that city. Kathy Basinski is here with the latest in the breakdown. Kathy.
Dean, while there will be some perhaps unexpected changes in the Democratic ballot in the city of Wilkes-Barre this November, on the whole, the slate is running much as expected. Tonight, he had another victory for incumbent Thomas McLaughlin, despite a very real challenge from opponent Joseph Burns.
Well, I'm very happy with that, naturally, Kathy, and we've worked hard. I really thank all the people who supported me in this effort.
There were no real issues in this campaign, but surprisingly enough, last year's garbage crisis in the city didn't hurt McLaughlin.
The main thing people are concerned about is the fact that we have picked up the garbage. There's been no delay of getting rid of it, and we've done it in a sanitary way. And of course, hopefully the system will be improved, and people in those neighborhoods who are concerned don't have to worry about it.
Tonight's top vote getters on city council: incumbents Lee Namey, Al Boris, Bob Riley, surprise newcomer 20-year-old Tom McGroarty from the East End, incumbent Ed White, and newcomers Thomas Toole and Phil McCabe. Incumbent Robert Provzik losing a November bid apparently. In the race for school directors in the city of Wilkes-Barre alone, the top four-year slate vote getters are incumbents Barbara Youngblood, Martin Flaherty, newcomer Mike McGinley, incumbents Harry Lipford and George Yannick. Once again, with only the city returns in, incumbent Henry Minorski is just missing a slot, with Michael Rushton the apparent victor for a two-year nomination berth. Once again, there are outlying districts within the Wilkes-Barre School District which have yet to be tallied. Now let's go to the actual tallies. For Wilkes-Barre City Mayor, Democrat Thomas McLaughlin winning once again with 5,647 votes. His opponent, Joseph Burns, 3,571. That is the final tally as you see there. Now on to City Council. Tom McGroarty, 4,093. He's the newcomer, 20 years old, a sophomore at Luzerne County Community College, a big surprise and big vote getter on the East End. Then we have Flannery with 2,730, Disleski, 1,734, McCarthy, 2,239, Eric Reddick, 2,863, O'Connor, 2,439, Phil McCabe winning on this one, 3,264, Leo Namey, the top vote getter, the incumbent, 5,228. As we continue, Bob Riley, once again the incumbent and a winner, 4,251. Bob Provzik just losing tonight. He will not be on the November slate for City Council for the Democrats, 2,795. Conway with 1,706. Myers, 768. Ed White, the incumbent, winning once again a slot for November, 3,460. Sorokas with 2,191. And Thomas Toole also winning for November, 3,411 votes. And then we go again as the slate continues for Wilkes-Barre City Council. Bob Crawford, 1,646. Al Boris, the incumbent, once again, he goes on to November, 4,394. And Maher with 2,419. Actually, we have 18 people who had filed for City Council in the city of Wilkes-Barre. It was a lengthy slate. Took up a lot of time voting today, but it's all in. We just gave it to you.
Looked like the 1980 census, right?
Certainly did.
McGroarty proves you're never too young to get elected.
I'll tell you that. Quite the surprise. Won it big, too.
Thank you, Kathy. Earlier tonight, Bridget Cusick reported live on the vote in Lackawanna County, and now she's standing by live once again for a look at the vote in the city of Scranton itself. Bridget.
Thank you, Dean. Well, the city races of interest here, of course, are 2 seats open for City Council. There are 5 seats open for school director, 4-year terms, and 1 for 2-year terms on school director also. Looking at City Council first, these are the figures as of 90 districts reporting out of 94. We have Walter Buckman with 1,265 votes. Former City Councilman Paul Catalano, 2,845. And the third Republican vying for this seat, Gerard Breyer, 2,214. So we have Catalano taking the lead on the Republican side. The Democrats, 6 of them seeking one of these 2 seats. We have Robert Osborne with 4,018. Michael Melnick, 5,736. Vince Manzo, Melnick and Manzo, of course, being the incumbents. Manzo with 5,943. We go to newcomers, Robert Coaster Jr. with 2,073, Robert Sheridan 2,596, and Russell Prino Jr. 3,140. And school director, of course, 5 seats open. Taking the lead, Hazel Price on the Republican side, and on the Democratic side, of course, we have Robert Casey. So this is how it wraps up now. Of course, we have a few more districts coming in.
Thank you, Bridget, very much for all that coverage tonight up in Lackawanna County and in the city of Scranton itself, of course. And, of course, the race that is capturing all the national attention tonight is the race for the Democratic nomination for mayor in Philadelphia. 1 minute after the polls closed, the Wizards at our sister station KYW predicted Wilson Goode the winner over Frank Hard-Nosed Rizzo. But here is the latest.
Here at Philadelphia's Convention Hall, Democratic primary winner W. Wilson Goode's campaigners are throwing what they expect will become one of the biggest, happiest parties ever thrown in this city. Blacks, whites, including ethnics, they put it all together today, and now they're celebrating. There was good reason for the Wilson Goode celebration. The NBC News election unit is projecting Goode will win with 99% of the city's black votes, more than 25%, possibly 30% of all white votes cast, considered something of a primary election landslide. Although earlier in the day, Goode had said he was nervous about the election, he was still optimistic.
I'm encouraged by what I see in terms of turnout. I'm encouraged by the efforts that have been made throughout the city to turn the votes out, and I'm cautiously optimistic.
The results have to be a bitter defeat for former Mayor Frank Rizzo, who was trying a comeback, trying to convince voters he has changed, no longer anti-black as he was once considered. Frank Rizzo has publicly promised that he will support the Democratic nominee for mayor in the November election, with even some of that support turning out a sizable number of white voters, plus a massive number of black voters turning out. This city today may have nominated its first black mayor. Peter Hackus, NBC News in Philadelphia.
Certainly looks like the political career, anyway, of Frank Rizzo is over tonight, but it's doubtful. It would be hard to say that his career as a newsmaker is over. Closer to home, Rick Mason, the first television reporter in central Pennsylvania, is covering all the important and interesting races in that part of the state, and he's standing by live for the very latest there. Rick.
Dean, the returns are now starting to come into the Lycoming County Courthouse in a steady stream. We turn our attention first to the commissioner's race in Lycoming County. On the Republican side, 10 candidates, and it looks that we may have 2 upsets in the making here. The 2 leaders all night long and up to this point with 35% of the vote in have not been the Republican incumbents, John Garrison and Galen Castleberry. They have been a Williamsport businessman and a realtor. Gene Smith has a commanding lead at this point, 2,222 votes. Realtor Laura Morningstar is in second place with 1,537 votes. The next closest is one of the incumbents, Garrison, 1,321 votes. On the Democratic side, the 2 leaders all night and at this point with 35% of the vote in have been a writer, freelance writer Dolly Wilt with 1,606 votes. She is leading. And in second place, the Democratic incumbent Paul Bloom with 1,266 votes. Turning now to the Democratic mayoral race in Williamsport, it looks as though City Councilwoman Jessie Bloom will be challenging the incumbent Stephen Lucchese in the November election. On the Democratic side, there have been 3 challengers, 3 opponents. Jessie Bloom with 908 votes, almost 3 times for each one of her opponents, Richard Carey, a former mayor, and William Rawls. Both have in the 300 vote range. One other interesting note before we turn it back to you, Dean. There was a race, or lack of a race, in Catawissa today. The 3 vacant council seats, there were no candidates filing petitions to be on the ballot. However, there have been some write-in campaigns, I understand, so Catawissa should not be without a full council come next year. Back to you, Dean.
Rick, did you read that home rule question in Clinton County and Lock Haven?
Did I read it?
Yeah, it's confusing,
extremely
right?
confusing.
All right, I'm going to read this to you and see if you're smart enough, see if you're Albert Einstein to figure it out. I wonder what the voters did. Shall a government study commission of 7 members be elected to study the existing form of government of the city of the county of Clinton, which doesn't make any sense to me, to consider the advisability of the adoption of an optional form of government or a home rule charter, to recommend the adoption of an optional form of government, or to draft and recommend a home rule charter? Obviously, the people and those two areas, and we're going to show you the numbers right now. First of all, Lock Haven. Lock Haven, they say no. No home rule study. And in Clinton County, they're also saying no as well. We'll be right back. The weather. What about the weather tonight?
Busy night, boy, I'll tell you. Beautiful day to vote anyway, and it's going to be a very, very cold evening.
Is that right?
We may even break a record.
Too, that's for sure.
That's true. Right now in the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area, our temperature stands at 43 degrees, clear skies, winds north at 6 miles an hour. Humidity 55%, barometer 30.34 and on the rise. Susquehanna River level at Wilkes-Barre 7 this morning was 6.1 feet. And on its way up. We had a bit of rain yesterday. Some will rise tomorrow morning at 5:43. It's going to set at 8:18. High for the day 56, the low 31. Normals for this time of year. Don't we wish we had them? 70 and 48. Readings from around the area this evening: 42 degrees in Hickory Grove, 47 Zion Grove, 45 in Mill Grove and Sealands Grove, and 46 degrees over in Pine Grove. Wait till you see what's up next. Look at this. No, now don't get worried. As far as the snow goes, it's way far away in Colorado and Wyoming. Snow, sleet, and high winds have just about paralyzed Denver. In fact, there's up to 2 feet west of Denver in the foothills. Freak spring snowstorm. Here, not too bad. We cannot complain. Let's take a look at the national map, see what caused our weather today. Beautiful high pressure system just north of Ohio. This high is going to dominate our weather. Right now it's moving eastward and it's going to settle straight over Pennsylvania this evening, and our winds are going to die down. Crystal clear skies, that means very, very cold temperatures. 28 in the higher elevations and in the mid to upper 30s in the valley cities. This high is going to give us a lot of sunshine tomorrow. Plenty of clear skies and temperatures. Very pleasant afternoon, 66 degrees for tomorrow afternoon. This high is then going to move eastward off the coast, and we will be left with a low pressure system. That will move eastward, and it's bringing the clouds in through the upper Ohio Valley right now, and those clouds will bring possibly some rain Thursday and Friday. Saturday looks pretty good, and Sunday doesn't look too bad either. So let's check out the AccuWeather forecast. This evening, clear with a frost or a freeze. In fact, the National Weather Service has issued a warning for both of those this evening. 28 in the higher elevations and 36 degrees here in the valley cities. For tomorrow, sunny and a delightful afternoon. 66 degrees will be our high, still below normal, but we'll take it rather than in the 40s. Tomorrow night, clear and chilly, 40 degrees will be our low. The rest of the 5-day AccuWeather forecast looks this way. Thursday, those clouds are going to start to roll in, increasing cloudiness with a high of 68. Friday, showers, 66. Saturday, some sun and 70. And Sunday, sun and 70 once again.
Jim Miller's not here. Sports news. Winner, Islanders. 4th year in a row, win Stanley Cup. Okay, winners in the Supreme Court race tonight. Can't declare any winners yet, but the leaders are Maritani and Papadakis, the best and least qualified candidates according to the Bar Association in this state. Meanwhile, in the Superior Court races, it's Beck, Montemuro, Olszewski of Wilkes-Barre, LaFavor, and McGregor leading. Also tonight, it is Palladino, Berry, and Kelly leading for the Commonwealth Court. And listen to this, how dry I was is what you can say in Riverside tonight. The people are voting for liquor licenses in Riverside and beer sales as well, but in McEwensville, it's not going that way at all. We'll be right back. That is a look at it. That indeed is a look at primary vote 1983. I hope you voted. I hope your candidates won. Jerry Baum will be here in the morning to pick up all the pieces and give us a perspective, as only Jerry can, on primary vote 1983. Good night.
You may have wondered why you're seeing more and more of these things outside people's homes. The reason is simple. Satellite dishes make 200 television and movie channels available. Satellite dishes range in size from 6 feet to 21 feet and in price from $2,000 to $8,000. And if you're not very happy with the conventional look of the satellite dish, try something unconventional, something like a painted scene from Egypt or of outer space. Brody's Satellite Systems in Edwardsville has one of the largest displays in the country. Charles Brody says owning a dish is as easy as flipping a switch, and for some people stuck out beyond cable reach, it's the only source of home entertainment.
Especially in the rural areas, they don't receive cable TV, They're blocked out by trees. They're isolated in an area maybe to get 1 or 2 snowy channels, and they actually have no entertainment.
There are 16 satellites in space now, and by the 1990s there should be 40. Each satellite can carry 24 channels, so there's no lack of variety.
This is what the people want today. They want entertainment, they want sports, they want the news as it happens, and satellite TV is the future. It's here, it's now.
He says he sells thousands of these systems, and he expects the market to only get better. Maureen Tierney, Eyewitness News, Edwardsville. Rabbi Abraham Barris has always been a spiritual leader, a man who never stopped caring or working for the community. He died at 61 today of a sudden, massive heart attack. He was at home on the phone working on the endowment fund campaign for the Jewish Community Center when it happened. He spent 31 years here as rabbi of Temple Israel in Wilkes-Barre. President of the Temple, June Blum, says the loss will be a great one.
Well, I think most people are going to feel a very deep personal loss because Rabbi Barris was not only spiritual leader of Temple Israel, but he was very active in the entire community.
The rabbi was a leader in many civic and religious organizations, especially remembered for his hard work on the Interfaith Council. He leaves behind his wife Sylvia, 3 sons, and his mother. The Reverend Monsignor Joseph Madden was a personal friend. He says the rabbi was a careful scripture scholar and a citizen of the world.
I believe him to be one of those that will be in the history of our valley as outstanding, as one who promoted the best interests of any religion for all people. He was a great leader and an irreplaceable one. That's how great he is, or was.
The funeral is Friday at noon in the main temple sanctuary.
Unless we change the curriculum.
Christine, let me ask you this question. You were talking about the school system inherently having maybe built-in ignorance about different cultures. Can anything be done in the schools if that child, black or white, goes back home to that environment where there is fear or ignorance, whether they be educated parents or not? How can you overcome what they have maybe been raised with, born and bred with, that attitude of fear the African-American child? Or, on the reverse side, the African-American child going into a predominantly white school and maybe having this fear of they don't like me because I'm different, which may be warranted or not.
Well, the second scenario we've already done. That's what desegregating the schools was about. When we did have black students go into white schools, and then they would have to say, lo and behold, these kids could succeed.
Is there, that appears to be the question, is there a better formula than affirmative action? I can tell you this much, when we do a lot of employment stories, the fact of the matter, at least in much of our coverage area, people will say to us, I did not get that job, or I have to score higher on the state police entrance exam. Whereas if I am a person of color or a female, I don't have to score that high. And they raise a question as we do, is that fair?
Well, let's say,
is it fair?
Is it fair? First of all,
my guest is Christine Patterson. We're going to take a break. She lectured at King's College this week, and her lecture had to do with sexism, racism, and classism. And we're going to find out a little bit more about that when we come back. We're back with Eyewitness Newsmakers, and my guest, Christine Patterson, thanks to King's College, where she lectured this month, and of course to Pennsylvania State University, where she is most of the time. Christine, your lecture was titled Sexism, Racism, and Classism. What's that all about?
Basically, what I have found that
remark that the women's movement is a big part of the problem for the black women, that they even left fellow women behind, the women's movement, and only recently have realized maybe what they forgot years ago, or did not include in their movement.
Again, you know, the women's movement did not begin in the 1950s and 1960s. That's still going back to the 1800s.
Welcome to Eyewitness Newsmakers. I'm John Bendick. This is a special Eyewitness Newsmakers. We look back in 1998 at the administration of Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge and a look ahead to 1999. In just a moment or two, the governor and his wife, Michelle Ridge, will join us here in the state reception room of the governor's residence for Eyewitness Newsmakers. Stay with us. Welcome back to this special edition of Eyewitness Newsmakers as we talk with Governor Tom Ridge and his wife Michelle from their residence in Harrisburg. Today we'll talk about education, the city of Scranton's financial situation, the upcoming presidential election, and hunting in Pennsylvania. Let's join Governor Tom Ridge.
This is a really unusual interview in the sense that normally it's a year end, but it's also a term end. And I'd like to take just a quick retrospect look at the past 4 years and give you a quick snapshot of the next couple, if I could.
The governor mentioned a little bit earlier to make certain that when children leave third grade that they can read. And that is a real targeted.
Let me ask you a question that I'd like to hear Mrs. Ridge's answer to your future in national politics. What is
mirror, mirror on the wall.
Right. I mean, what can you tell? What do you want to do?
Pardon me?
What do you want to do, and would you share his feelings if you?
Well, I'm glad you pointed to Michelle when you asked, because number one, that's not a discussion that we've even entertained or will have. I mean, it's somewhere along the line.
This has been a special Eyewitness Newsmakers, taped at the governor's residence in Harrisburg. I'm John Bendick. Thank you.